The grand hall of the Galactic Academy was abuzz with anticipation. Holographic displays hovered over polished floors, casting shifting patterns of light that danced across the walls. The Academy's elite, a melange of the galaxy's most esteemed scholars and dignitaries, exchanged whispers and glances. Their eyes were fixed on the colossal doors, eagerly awaiting the arrival of a highly anticipated delegation. With a sudden, resounding clang, the doors swung open. The room fell silent as a figure stepped into the hall. Earth's daughter, Emily Carter, entered with an air of quiet determination. Her attire, simple and unassuming, contrasted sharply with the opulent robes of the Academy's attendees. A faint murmur of surprise rippled through the crowd. Emily's presence alone was a statement. Earth, often dismissed as a backwater planet, was sending someone who did not fit their expected mold. At the front of the room stood Professor Zelian, the Academy's head. His sharp features and imposing stature radiated authority. His eyes, however, were narrowed with skepticism. "Welcome to the Galactic Academy," he intoned, his voice dripping with condescension. "I trust Earth has prepared something extraordinary for us." Emily met his gaze steadily, her expression composed. "I believe we have more to offer than what meets the eye," she replied. Her voice, though soft, carried an undercurrent of resolve. The room's atmosphere thickened with palpable tension. The elite scholars exchanged knowing glances, their disdain masked as polite interest. Admiral Rin, a grizzled veteran of galactic diplomacy, observed the scene with a thoughtful frown. Unlike his peers, his curiosity was piqued rather than diminished by Emily's understated entrance. Professor Zelian motioned to a series of advanced technological stations set up around the hall. "We will commence with a series of evaluations. These tests will determine if Earth's representative is truly capable of contributing to our esteemed Academy." The tests were designed to challenge even the most adept minds. Emily's first task involved navigating a holographic simulation that recreated a complex interstellar negotiation. The holograms projected intricate alien languages and cultural nuances, testing her adaptability and understanding. Emily approached the simulation with a calm confidence. As she interacted with the holograms, her responses were precise, reflecting a deep understanding of both human and alien perspectives. The audience watched in silent amazement as she deftly handled the scenario, revealing insights that were both innovative and astute. Professor Zelian's eyebrows furrowed. "Impressive," he muttered under his breath, though his tone remained guarded. Admiral Rin's eyes, however, shone with a glimmer of admiration. As the tests progressed, Emily's performance continued to defy expectations. Her ability to interpret complex data and her creative problem-solving skills began to chip away at the Academy's initial skepticism. The whispers in the crowd grew louder, filled with a mixture of surprise and intrigue. In the final moments of the chapter, Emily faced a particularly challenging test, an advanced computational problem that had stumped the Academy's brightest minds. As she worked through the equations, her fingers danced across the interface, the display shifting rapidly as solutions appeared. The hall was filled with the hum of machinery and the occasional gasp from the audience. Emily's focus was unwavering, her brow furrowed in concentration. The moment she solved the problem, the room erupted in astonished murmurs. For the first time, the Academy's elite began to reconsider their assumptions about Earth's representative. Professor Zelian's expression softened, though he remained guarded. Admiral Rin approached Emily with a nod of respect. "You've done well so far," he said, his voice carrying a note of genuine approval. "But the real challenge lies ahead." Emily nodded, her resolve unshaken. As the chapter closes, the audience's reaction hints at a shift in perception. Earth's daughter had arrived, and the impact of her presence was only beginning to unfold. The hum of murmuring voices and the clink of glasses filled the opulent reception hall as the Galactic Academy's gala commenced. Against the backdrop of dazzling lights and shimmering decor, Emily Carter stood apart, her focus intent on the holographic display before her. The Academy's elite mingled, their conversations a blend of skepticism and curiosity, as they awaited the main event of the evening. Professor Zelian approached, his expression a mixture of impatience and intrigue. "Ms. Carter," he began, his voice crisp. "The real test begins shortly. Are you prepared for what's to come?" Emily nodded, her face a mask of calm determination. "I'm ready," she replied, her voice steady. Her confidence was a stark contrast to the tension that crackled through the room. Admiral Rin, observing from a distance, couldn't help but feel a twinge of admiration. He had been involved in countless diplomatic missions, and something about Emily's composure intrigued him. He approached her, his voice low. "I've seen many candidates, but you're different. What drives you?" Emily met his gaze, her eyes reflecting a depth of purpose. "Earth has always been underestimated. I'm here to show that we have more to offer than anyone imagines." As the gala continued, the holographic displays around the room flickered to life, presenting a series of complex scenarios designed to test Emily's capabilities. The first challenge was a simulation of an interstellar diplomatic crisis. Holograms of various alien species appeared, their voices an unintelligible cacophony of discord. The task was to mediate a resolution. Emily stepped forward, her fingers deftly manipulating the controls. The alien species projected on the holograms displayed agitation and frustration, their gestures animated. She listened intently, her expression thoughtful as she interpreted their grievances. Her responses were precise, her voice calm but assertive as she navigated the intricacies of their demands. The room's mood shifted as Emily managed to bring the simulation to a peaceful resolution. The holograms dissolved into a harmonious exchange, a testament to her diplomatic skills. The audience erupted in surprised applause, their earlier skepticism beginning to wane. Professor Zelian's face remained inscrutable, but his eyes betrayed a hint of begrudging respect. Admiral Rin leaned closer to Emily, his curiosity piqued. "That was impressive. But the next challenge is far more complex." Emily's gaze remained steady. "I'm ready." The next phase involved a series of advanced tactical simulations, designed to test strategic thinking and problem-solving under pressure. The holographic displays presented a chaotic battlefield scenario with shifting parameters and unknown variables. Emily's task was to devise a strategy to turn the tide in favor of her side. As the simulation began, the room fell silent, the audience fixated on the unfolding drama. Emily's brow furrowed in concentration as she analyzed the tactical data. Her fingers flew over the controls, issuing commands and recalibrating strategies in real time. The scene was a whirl of activity, with explosions and tactical maneuvers vividly projected around her. The audience watched in awe as Emily's strategy began to bear fruit. Her decisions were bold yet calculated, her leadership clear as she orchestrated a series of moves that gradually shifted the balance of power. The once chaotic battlefield began to stabilize under her direction, the opposing forces falling into disarray. As the simulation concluded, the room erupted into applause once more, this time with a sense of genuine admiration. Even Professor Zelian's demeanor softened, though he remained reserved. Admiral Rin approached Emily, a smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. "You've exceeded our expectations," he said, his tone reflecting newfound respect. "But the final test will be the most demanding yet." Emily nodded, her resolve unwavering. "I'm ready for whatever comes next." The Galactic Academy's grand chamber was silent, save for the low hum of the cooling systems. The room's imposing walls, lined with technological marvels and ancient relics, seemed to lean in, eager to witness the culmination of Emily Carter's trials. At the center stood the final challenge, a massive, interactive display projecting an elaborate simulation of a galactic war zone. Emily approached the platform with measured steps, her gaze fixed on the simulation. The holographic interface flared to life, revealing a chaotic battlefield strewn with debris and flashing lights. The air crackled with tension as the simulation's parameters began to configure themselves. The final test would demand more than mere tactical acumen. It required a blend of strategy, leadership, and raw nerve. Professor Zelian watched from his vantage point, his face a mask of impassivity. Admiral Rin stood beside him, his eyes betraying a glimmer of anticipation. Emily's previous successes had impressed, but this was different. This challenge could either solidify her status or expose her limitations. Emily's fingers hovered over the controls, her mind racing. The holographic display showed two opposing forces, one representing the chaotic invaders, the other an organized coalition on the brink of collapse. The objective was to turn the tide of the battle, not only through tactical maneuvers but also by unifying disparate factions within the coalition. As the simulation began, Emily's strategy unfolded with precision. Her initial commands redirected the coalition's scattered forces, organizing them into a cohesive unit. The holographic battlefield shifted as her strategies were implemented. Flashes of light indicated successful engagements, and the once dispersed units began to rally. Professor Zelian leaned closer, his analytical mind absorbing every detail. "She's showing exceptional adaptability," he murmured to Admiral Rin. "But this is just the beginning." Admiral Rin nodded, his eyes never leaving the display. "The real test will be her response to unforeseen variables." Just as Rin spoke, the simulation's parameters shifted unexpectedly. A new enemy faction emerged, one that had not been part of the initial scenario. They were more formidable, their technology advanced, and their tactics ruthless. The battlefield was instantly thrown into disarray, and the coalition forces began to falter under the new threat. Emily's expression hardened as she assessed the sudden change. Her fingers flew over the controls, issuing orders to reposition and reinforce. The simulation's environment erupted in chaos as the new enemy engaged with brutal efficiency. Emily's command center was bombarded with urgent reports and shifting tactical data. The room's atmosphere grew tense as Emily's strategies began to bear fruit. Her ability to adapt was evident. She orchestrated a series of tactical maneuvers that gradually neutralized the new threat. Yet, the challenge was far from over. The coalition forces were on the brink of collapse, and the new enemy was relentless. Admiral Rin's respect for Emily's skills deepened. "She's handling the crisis well, but it's clear this is a trial by fire." Professor Zelian's eyes were sharp with scrutiny. "Indeed. But true leadership will be revealed in how she handles the final phase." The final phase of the simulation involved a critical decision point. Emily had to decide whether to deploy a risky strategy that could either turn the tide dramatically or lead to total defeat. The coalition's morale was low, and their resources were stretched thin. Emily's decision would not only determine the outcome of the simulation but also reflect her judgment under pressure. Emily took a deep breath, her mind racing through the implications of her choice. Her eyes darted over the holographic battlefield, assessing every variable. Finally, she made her decision. She ordered a high-risk offensive, targeting the enemy's command structure in a bold attempt to cripple their coordination. The simulation roared to life as her strategy was put into action. The coalition forces surged forward, their attack coordinated and fierce. The enemy's command structure was hit with devastating precision, causing confusion and disarray among their ranks. Slowly but surely, the tides began to turn in favor of the coalition. As the simulation neared its conclusion, Emily watched intently. The battlefield began to shift, the enemy forces retreating under the coalition's relentless assault. The once chaotic environment gradually settled into a state of controlled victory. The room erupted into applause as the simulation ended, the display showing a clear coalition victory. The audience's reaction was mixed, but there was a palpable shift in the atmosphere. Emily's face reflected a mixture of relief and exhaustion. Admiral Rin approached her, his expression approving. "You've demonstrated remarkable resilience and strategic brilliance. You've passed the final test." Emily nodded, her eyes meeting his with a determined gleam. "Thank you, Admiral. I'm ready to face whatever comes next." Professor Zelian remained silent, his gaze contemplative. The final challenge had tested Emily's limits, and she had emerged victorious. As the applause continued, the path ahead for Earth's daughter was now clear. The real journey was just beginning, and the galaxy was watching. The stark silence of the Galactic Council chamber was shattered by the distant rumble of approaching battleships. Inside, the councilors' murmurs reflected a blend of apprehension and disbelief. The projection at the chamber's heart displayed a colossal fleet of Earth ships, their sleek hulls gleaming with a resolve that seemed almost palpable. Emily Carter stood before the council, her posture rigid but her expression calm. The challenge had escalated far beyond what she had anticipated. The counselors, each representing a different star system, watched her with a mixture of curiosity and skepticism. Her earlier successes had earned her a moment of respect, but now the real test awaited. Admiral Rin, who had accompanied Emily, stood beside her, his face betraying none of the internal conflict he felt. His years of service had seen many galactic tensions, but Earth's strategy and resolve were unprecedented. Professor Zelian remained a silent observer, his gaze keen and analytical. Admiral Rin, Emily Carter, the council leader, an imposing figure named Tyrannes, addressed them. Explain the purpose of this fleet. You have 30 minutes to present your case before we make our judgment. Emily stepped forward, her voice steady. Esteemed counselors, this fleet represents Earth's readiness to confront any threat. We understand the gravity of our presence here, and we wish to assure you that our intentions are peaceful but resolute. We come not to provoke, but to protect an ally. The counselors exchanged uneasy glances. A counselor from the Andromedan sector, with eyes that seemed to pierce through the darkness of space, spoke up. Earth has been known for its unpredictable strategies. Why should we believe this is not a show of force? Emily took a deep breath, her eyes meeting those of the skeptical counselor. Our fleet is not a threat. It is a testament to our commitment to safeguarding our allies and our shared future. We request your understanding and support in these uncertain times. A low murmur rippled through the chamber, the tension palpable. Council leader Tyrannes raised a hand, silencing the crowd. Very well. We will proceed with a demonstration of your fleet's capabilities to ensure that your intentions align with your words. As the counselors filed out, the scene shifted to the practice field, a vast expanse of space where simulated combat drills could be observed. Emily and Admiral Rin followed, their thoughts a mixture of hope and anxiety. This was more than a display. It was a chance to prove Earth's strength and dedication. The simulation began, the sky overhead illuminated with virtual flashes of energy and plasma. Emily's orders directed her fleet into strategic formations, their movements precise and calculated. Each maneuver was designed to showcase their prowess while adhering to the principles of non-aggression and defense. In the observation deck, Professor Zelian's eyes narrowed as he scrutinized the data. The fleet's efficiency was impressive, but the Council's scrutiny remained intense. Every action was being analyzed, every decision recorded. The Andromedan counselor, still skeptical, leaned over to Council leader Tyrannes. This display is impressive, but it does not necessarily prove their intentions. We must consider the possibility of ulterior motives. Tyrannes nodded, his gaze fixed on Emily. Agreed. We will need to see how they handle a more unpredictable scenario. As if on cue, the simulation changed. A rogue faction, not part of the original parameters, appeared on the scene, their tactics aggressive and unpredictable. The counselors watched with bated breath as Emily's fleet adjusted its strategies on the fly, demonstrating not just control but adaptability. Emily's face was a mask of concentration. Her hands danced over the controls, issuing commands that shifted the fleet into a defensive stance. The rogue faction's attacks were fierce, but the coalition forces, under Emily's command, responded with equal resolve. The simulation's holographic display erupted in a dazzling array of colors and sounds, illustrating the intense combat. Admiral Rin's voice was calm but firm as he relayed updates to Emily. Adjust the perimeter. Focus on containment. We need to neutralize their command center to end this. Emily's response was immediate, her orders executed with precision. Slowly but surely, the rogue faction's advances were pushed back. The display shifted from chaos to controlled engagement, with the enemy forces retreating under the relentless pressure from Emily's fleet. The counselors' murmurs grew quieter, their skepticism fading as they witnessed the demonstration's outcome. Tyrannes turned to Emily, his expression softened with a hint of respect. You've proven your capabilities and intentions. Your fleet is indeed a powerful force, but also one that can be trusted. Emily nodded, a mixture of relief and pride evident in her posture. Thank you, Council Leader. We are committed to our role as allies and defenders. As the counselors began to leave, Professor Zelian approached Emily and Admiral Rin. You've managed to turn skepticism into respect. The demonstration was convincing, but remember, this is just the beginning. Admiral Rin placed a reassuring hand on Emily's shoulder. You've shown the galaxy what Earth is capable of. The real challenges lie ahead, but we've taken a significant step. Emily's gaze shifted to the vast expanse of space beyond the chamber's walls. The path forward was still uncertain, but the groundwork had been laid. With newfound confidence, she prepared to face the trials yet to come, knowing that Earth's role in the galaxy was evolving from one of uncertainty to one of formidable strength and partnership.